Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Careers and Coffee. My name is Kaylee and I shall be your host for today's show with my colleague Kieran Buxton behind the scenes. Today we have a real treat for you as we have the lovely Jen Meredith on the show, who is a digital marketer, copywriter and social media manager. Jen works completely in the digital world, creating unique and exciting content. So let's welcome Jen.
Hello.
Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. So to kick off today's episode, Jen, can you tell us who you are and what you do as a job role?
Yeah, so I'm a bit like Chandler Bing from Friends. None of my friends really know what I do all day, but I'm a digital marketer, a social media manager and copywriter, as you said, and they all kind of interlink and mix around with each other.
Amazing. And can you tell us about all three aspects of those roles? And although I know not every day is going to look the same to you, but kind of what does your average day look like?
So social media manager and copywriter all fall under the umbrella of digital marketing. Digital marketing is a really broad industry and no two people kind of have the same role. So digital marketing, that kind of element of it accounts for the parts of my role that don't fall under social media and copywriting. So it's things like search engine optimization, which is SEO. So that means making sure a website kind of ranks well on Google. And in terms of copywriting, I write for brands, I write for their websites, I write them press releases and adverts. And in terms of social media, I work mostly on Instagram, creating interesting content for brands and influencers.
Amazing. I know that's going to be really interesting. So actually, could we kind of focus on the sort of the social media and kind of the work that you do for the influencers and brands? So can you give an example of any work that you've sort of recently done for those watching?
So recently Instagram Reels has become so popular. If you are creating Reels of any sort, you are putting yourself in a good position on Instagram. So the kind of Reels I've been creating at the moment, for example, are beauty. Going through an entire makeup routine and then putting that all together and then posting it with some kind of trending music on Instagram, and that kind of ups the views, up the follows, up the likes. So yeah, that's one example.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I know that's just gonna, I think a lot of the students watching them will really relate to that as well. Yeah. So could you tell us about your career journey and how you are doing what you're doing now?
So it's my career has kind of spanned over a decade now. I think that makes me seem old, but I started this all quite young, kind of when social media really started to become a thing. So I went to uni, I studied English in order to actually become a journalist. I was obsessed with Devil Wears Prada. I wanted to work in a glamorous office writing for a glossy publication. And so out of uni, I started working on an internship at a local magazine, and I picked up skills in writing for websites and social media, because these were actually the things that no one else had time for. You know, they were concentrating on the print magazine side. And I really, really thought that digital writing and social media were going to become huge. And I turned out to be right. So I kind of picked up the things that no one else wanted to do or no one had time for. And I really, really worked at them. So unfortunately, after a year in that position, that magazine closed, because the magazine and newspaper industry is quite volatile, but it is moving into digital. So there are plenty of places for people. It's not oversaturated. That magazine closed, and I then went to become a deputy editor at a national hair and beauty magazine. It's very glamorous. It was kind of the Devil Wears Prada lifestyle. And I attended, parties with celebrities, and I got loads of freebies and free trips and things like that, lots of perks. But then unfortunately, again, that closed. And So after that, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go completely freelance. So then I went into what I'm doing now, and I write for, you know, local brands, local businesses, and I've got a really nice community of clients who all do really good things. And during this whole time, I've also been building up my personal brand with my blog and my own social media. And so that is very much fashion and beauty concentrated.
That sounds so much fun. And I love that you focused on, actually, you've done previous job roles and then obviously maybe had those, what you might have perceived as setbacks at the time, but you always kind of drove forward and they taught you things, and you're doing what you're doing now because of that. So thank you so much for sharing that. And obviously now you're working completely in the digital world, and we know that the landscape for working has changed as well over this past year because of, well, COVID. But you've never really had that set office. So could you sort of share with us where you work day to day?
Yeah, so at the moment, I've got a nice home office, which has been great during the pandemic. Obviously, a lot of people have been working from home. And I like my office to be a really creative and inspiring space. Otherwise, I'm just not motivated. I need to like where I work and be inspired by it. Otherwise, if it's not in the pandemic, it might be a cafe, co-working space, or even in a different country if I fancy a holiday. There are co-working spaces across the world, and you could sit in a hammock by the beach, or, you know, meet like-minded people who do what you do, and it's a really interesting lifestyle.
That's amazing. That's so interesting, and kind of expanding on that a little bit more, because, you know, the landscape of working may be changing. So like we've seen, more and more people will be working from home in the future. And you've just touched upon co-working spaces. So can you just explain a little bit more about what they are?
Yeah, so I think co-working spaces are going to kind of be like the future of working, because although working from home is great, we love, you know, kind of rolling out of bed and just going to the desk at 9 o'clock and then starting work. It can be a little bit lonely. So if you go to a co-working space, you can meet other people who kind of do what you do something different. You can work together. You can kind of get people to work for you. You can work for other people. But co-working spaces are basically a space with brilliant Wi-Fi and good coffee. And everyone kind of comes together and works in a kind of shared community space.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And as a woman, and I also know that you have a dual heritage as well, why do you feel it's important to challenge stereotypes and highlight the value that diversity can really bring into the, well, obviously into the world?
So whether we like it or not, we're all paving the way for the next generation. Each generation benefits or is disadvantaged by the bar that we set. So without being vain or big-headed, I'm hoping that the successes I achieve in my life as a woman with dual heritage will pave the way for women of all backgrounds to benefit in future, and hopefully make it easier for them to achieve success.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And we've actually just had a live question come through as well. So at school, I've been told being a social influencer, YouTuber isn't a real job. Do you feel people can make enough money to have this as their career? Ooh, tough question.
That is a very great question. I can tell you that it is a real job. I mean, a lot of people think that, you know, celebrities, that isn't a real job. These people work. They work, you know, long hours. They work unsociable hours. They work very hard. And you can, if you do, you know, if you do put in the work, you do be creative, you do put in the energy, you can make enough money to have this as your career. You just have to really work at it and chip away at it, and eventually, you know, you can get there.
Lovely, thank you for that. also something really interesting. And I think very important as well. In your description, you mentioned clickbait. So can you tell us more about what clickbait is and why it can be misleading for people who are online?
Yeah, so clickbait has actually been around since, I'd say, probably the creation of newspapers centuries and centuries ago. Basically, it's a headline that entices you to know more. And today, in today's world, it gets people to click on an online article. And it is misleading because the title doesn't usually represent what's actually in the article. So an example might be, this one tip will save you hours of cleaning up. And you click on it and you're thinking, oh, wow, I spent ages cleaning, I want to save time. And you click on it and it's a dishwasher. Which loads of people use. So it's not really telling you anything. But the point is that the website got you to click on that article, which means in a very simplified way, they get paid more by their advertisers.
Thank you so much. And I just think that's really important for people to be aware of when they are online as well. So in your professional life, I know you spoke a little bit about it earlier, but is there sort of what type of challenges have you come across and how did you overcome these and how did they help you professionally as well with your professional development?
So in terms of the challenges, when you work for yourself, it's very easy to overwork yourself. And that can lead to burnout, which I have experienced, unfortunately. It is extremely important to look after your mental health. And it's okay when you're self-employed to say no to clients. They have to understand that you are a person, you're not a machine. So set yourself boundaries, have working hours, don't work all around the clock, take holidays because everyone needs a holiday. You work in order to earn money to do the things that you love. So make sure you're doing those things. The other thing I'd say as a challenge is meeting deadlines. We've all had deadlines if we've been to school, if we've been at work. The way I kind of get around that is to stay as organized as possible, which has taken me a long time to do. It seems really simple, but organization is a skill. So get a diary. I use apps to track how much time I spend on projects and yeah, just try and keep organized.
Yeah, absolutely. Organizational skills. Yeah, you're right. It's definitely a skill.
Yeah.
We've had another question come through. So what skills do I need to make it in the digital sector and what school subjects might help me?
So in terms of skills, I personally don't think you need any kind of formal qualifications to do what I do. Learning is extremely important in any industry. So writing/social media courses are really great for teaching you the skills that you might need in future. You can, of course, take a formal qualification if you want that on your CV. But in my opinion, if I were to hire someone to work with me, the degree wouldn't be my first port of call. I would want to know about their experience and what skills they've learned through their experience. I want them to know social media inside out. I would want them to be up to date with the latest advancements in social media and in digital copywriting and digital marketing, and they need to write well. So if you want to know if you can write well, submit your articles to magazines, submit your articles to websites, or give your work to someone who you will trust will give you an honest opinion and give you good feedback, because it can't be all, daisies and roses. Somebody needs to critique you in order for you to learn. So yeah, in terms of skills, definitely know social media inside out, be a good writer.
Amazing. That's some great inside knowledge there. So thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. And I know you are a creative person. And how does expressing this creativity help you both professionally and personally?
Well, I figure in life that we all have a purpose or several purposes, and one of mine is to be creative. So I feel like that's a life purpose for me. The way I knew that was that I've always wanted to create from a very young age. I was writing songs, stories, drawing, taking photos, and then I did creative subjects at school, at uni. So I did art, music, English and photography. So very creative. A lot of people said to me, you know, you're not going to get into uni with those subjects, but they were what I was passionate about, and that's what really matters. You know, if you want to get into, you know, your Oxbridge, sure, you maybe need to kind of play along a little bit, but I wasn't too bothered. I wanted to learn, and I wanted to be passionate about what I learned and what I did in future. So that was important to me. But professionally, I think creativity is important because the world of work is going increasingly towards artificial intelligence. I think we're a long way off before robots can have the same creative thinking as a human. So a robot might be able to like recreate the Mona Lisa, but could it interpret and capture the way a person looks in its own unique way? Not yet. Sorry. So I think the world needs creatives. We need people who can come up with solutions to make people's lives better.
Thank you so much. That was so interesting. And I know actually people hearing that might think, well, I don't feel like I'm a creative person. So what would you say to somebody if they said to you, I'm not creative?
Well, I think that everyone has a little creativity inside them. Creativity is really thinking outside the box. You don't have to be good at drawing or art or English or, you know, all of these things that are typically creative. Everybody has some sort of creativity. So a doctor might be a profession that you think needs no creativity whatsoever. You know, they need knowledge of the medical field. They need logic, which is absolutely true. But a doctor has to be creative, because what if a patient is suffering from, you know, a relatively rare disease or unknown disease, and they can't find the answer in a medical journal? So they need to think creatively out of the box, interpret the information that they have, and use insight and inspiration from other medical experts in order to formulate a diagnosis. So everyone has creativity. We just use it in different ways.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And we've got another questions come through as well. So which social media accounts inspire you?
So definitely something I've seen on social media is the creation of quotes. So on Instagram, this has been a thing for a long time. You know, you'd post quotes as a kind of filler for an Instagram profile. But now quotes are kind of taking a center stage. People share meaningful quotes on their stories because it says something about their personality and how they want to be portrayed to the world. So in terms of the accounts, one that I really, really enjoy looking through at the moment is We Are the Urban, which I think is a minority founded account. They post quotes, I think, probably every day or every other day, and I see people sharing them all the time. They've really got a great format. They really post things that are meaningful and emotional and that people can relate to.
Yeah, amazing. And what if somebody is interested in the work that you're doing now? So they're at school, and besides the learning that they're doing, what kind of things could they do in their free time, in their spare time, like their hobbies, that can help to give them more experience of this digital world and content creation?
So as I was talking earlier about experience, I think experience is essential, and you can do that yourself. You don't have to work for someone. So if you're at school, you know, you're young, you can't get a job yet, or, you know, you don't have the means to get a job, start your own social media profiles. And this is how you're going to learn in the real life experience, how to use social media. Really take it seriously. Learn about how to create trending viral content. Don't just kind of flick through and kind of double tap everything. Look at how people make things. Look at the way that people use social media. You know, if you can, talk to creators. Some obviously, some profiles are too big to kind of message everyone back. But if you can find someone who responds to you, ask them questions, because hopefully they'll be able to tell you how they do things, how they create a certain reel, how they create a TikTok. Learn how to use analytics. That is essential if you are going to be a social media manager or an influencer. You're going to have to report back about your analytics so that you can justify your earning. So learn analytics and how to interpret that information. There are so many YouTube videos out there that tell you how to do that. YouTube was around when I was at school, but it's nowhere near as big as it is now. And I really wish that I had this huge resource, this free resource to learn from, because it's so useful. So definitely watch YouTube videos about writing, digital marketing, social media, and learn as much as you can. And if, later on, if you can get a job working in digital marketing for a company, then that will look great on your CV if that's what you want to work towards in future.
Amazing. Okay, so looking at the time, just one final question. So, and I know this might be hard to pin down, but what is one thing that you love about your work?
So, let's have a look. I would say the freedom, but I think we've already covered that kind of with working anywhere, wearing what I want, like working when I want. But I would actually say helping local businesses. I want to use my creativity for a purpose. I want to use it to help other people. And I love to see my clients succeed. And it makes me feel good to know that I'm a part of that. So my clients are all lovely people. Their businesses support their families, and in turn, they also support the local community. So when you support local, you become part of a cycle that benefits your community, and that can only be a good thing.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So Jen, thank you so much for coming on today. You've given real insight to your role, and it's absolutely been amazing having you on. So I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So thank you to Jen again for joining us today, and thank you to my colleague Kieran for working behind the scenes on tech today. And we look forward to seeing you again on Thursday at 4:30. Thank you.